This introduction to the Reggio Emilia philosophy is for teachers who are interested in taking an active, exploratory approach to adopting its ideals. Reggio Emilia is a city in Italy whose approach to preschool education has won worldwide attention. Many teachers are interested in taking a similar approach, but the Reggio Emilia way of doing things does not involve a step-by-step formula or method that others can or even should simply imitate. Classrooms inspired by the Reggio Emilia approach do tend to share certain features, such as an atmosphere of mutual respect and excitement about learning. But each will have its own unique look and way of doing things, which evolve and change even in the same classroom from one year to the next in response to the children's interests. Instead of a regimented method, the Reggio Emilia approach to teaching is a process that involves adopting certain attitudes, ways of thinking about children and about education, and letting the resulting philosophy guide you as you respond to who the children in your classroom are, what they need and what they have to offer, in the context of who you are, what you need and have to offer, and the resources and needs of the children's families, community, and environment. For example, science investigations depend in part on whether the children in your classroom experience forests, deserts, seashores, or rooftop gardens in their own lives. Social studies investigations could depend in part on your community's history, cultural environment, and understandings. And children are inspired to master reading, writing, and math skills when they are tied to the activities that they see going on around them and the people they care about. Of course, this depth of responsiveness doesn't happen all at once. It's a process that happens in small steps. And nobody can tell you ahead of time exactly what those steps will be or where they will eventually lead. In fact, a fundamental aspect of the Reggio philosophy is the idea that teachers are also researchers, planning and testing ideas for improving their own practices and their classrooms based on their own observations and understandings. If you're interested in experimenting with the Reggio Emilia approach for yourself, you can use the activities in these videos to begin practicing these attitudes and taking these steps in your own classroom. As with anything, the best way to learn Reggio Emilia attitudes and approaches is by practicing doing them. Of course, you won't want to do this in a vacuum. Whenever possible, observe and read about other Reggio Emilia-inspired classrooms in preschools and primary schools in your area if possible. Attend seminars and conferences and discuss your thoughts and plans and experiences with like-minded educators. Another pillar of Reggio Emilia philosophy is that teachers should not have to face their challenges alone. They should be able to work and think through them together with others who care about their students, including families, co-teachers, assistants, colleagues, and administrators. The videos in this series can help you focus on how to take action in your classroom and how to assess and reflect on it using a Reggio Emilia perspective. Doing the activities in course order will help you begin with the basics, but it is also fine to start with the activities that you find most interesting or most relevant right now. The description of each activity leaves many specifics up to you, because again, adopting a Reggio Emilia attitude means that specifics will depend on what is going on in your classroom. For example, class projects can develop from the children's current questions, along with your curriculum goals. And arts activities can be connected to class projects and goals rather than being disconnected exercises and decoration. So, instead of step-by-step instructions, the videos describe each activity with an emphasis on 8 central aspects of the Reggio Emilia philosophy. The teacher as researcher, the 100 languages, the image of the child, documentation, the environment as third teacher, family and community, project-based learning, and provocations. There are also videos introducing each of these aspects of the philosophy. Any Reggio practitioner will tell you that you can't really separate or disentangle these aspects and follow just one or two of them and claim to be doing Reggio, any more than you can separate just the pitching or the batting or the running and claim that you're playing baseball. But you also can't learn to do or think about everything at once. Thinking about and practicing the aspects separately can help you understand and get comfortable with them. As they become more familiar, you will begin to see how they are all necessary to each other and how they all work together. But different aspects will be more central to different activities, and at first you may feel most comfortable consciously pursuing just a few strands of the Reggio Emilia philosophy. That's not just okay, it is a practical way to make forward progress in small, doable steps. Remember, Reggio Emilia is not a regimented program with structures that all have to be in place in order to see any benefits. As a teacher-researcher, you will be working from the very beginning to identify the steps, attitudes, and activities that benefit your students the most. Reggio Emilia experts consistently observe that the goal is to develop an authentic response to your students' needs that arises from your understandings and those of the other educators that you work with in the context of your community. That's why the term Reggio inspired is often used to describe this approach. It's meant to suggest that rather than adopting what has worked for someone else, you are inspired by them to continually discover what will work best for your students. The very first steps on an unfamiliar path are often the hardest to take. Reflecting on your thoughts and experiences is an integral part of being a teacher-researcher. So, when considering what you might want to get out of being inspired by Reggio Emilia, it may help to reflect on your answers to the following questions. What does teaching look like when it recognizes the needs, capabilities, and ideas of the children in your school? What does teaching look like when it responds to the needs, capabilities, and ideas of local teachers, family, and community? What does an atmosphere of mutual respect and excitement about learning look like? When you imagine yourself as a more experienced, effective, and confident teacher several years from now, what does that look like? What would you hope to get out of taking a Reggio Emilia style approach in your classroom? What would you hope to gain by exploring each of the aspects of the Reggio Emilia philosophy? And which of those aspects do you find most intriguing right now? With its focus on understanding the children in your classroom and developing ways to better support and guide their learning, the Reggio Emilia philosophy can help you begin to take steps toward building up your classroom's atmosphere of mutual respect and excitement about learning.